Hello. Hope you appreciate me coming all the way to your home for this evaluation. I know you've been working with us for a long time. Over 200 years, I think the file said. Very long. Surprised you have a condo. And that you don't have more French origin art. You know, considering where you're from. No, I won't hold that against you. No, I know it sounds dour, but this evaluation is overdue. How's your vacation been? 150 days already? Yeah, you've been rolling those over for a long time, huh? Well, anyway, I think you want what's best for people, don't you? Even as an ideology? Okay, if you don't say yes to that, I am going to hold it against you. I brought some older critiques I think you'll be familiar with, and older evaluations. I have one from Marx, a small essay from Oscar Wilde, and a disturbing number of complaints. No, I think our best action is not to fight this. The more you're able to give up and give in peacefully, I think you can save a lot of face. It's about time that maybe you step back and we can see about retiring capitalism. Let's have a seat. Hey! As you can tell from the 2 weeks absent out of my upload schedule, I finished NaNoWriMo! Woo! I completed it and I won, and I also mentioned it in my last video where I talk more. It was a lot of fun and a lot of work, and I forget how well the words can come out of me if I just try and I give myself space, and if I find a way to get by whatever mental blocks make me want to stop and sit down and do nothing. And a lot of my struggle just has to do with me learning my own psychology and finding a way to trick myself into doing work. I really like setting up a story and then seeing it all the way through and then adding little twists and finding places to change it, and I am working a lot. What I want most out of this year and what I wanted most out of this nano experience is the community. Even though I won, which is nice, my goal going in was to make friends and to be part of the community and meet some writers that are around me. And this was kind of accomplished. I definitely could have done better. I'm still a little shy. I'm still a little bit more doing more listening and once in a while throwing out a random joke, because that's what I do. Because I'm the worst. I don't know. That's my comfort zone. That was my goal, but I think I still have most activities without talking about myself or introducing myself without being prompted. Hi, I'm Ray Richards, by the way, also known as the Sugar Ray. I make videos on this channel. I write novels and short stories and essays that a lot of time make their way onto this channel, hopefully about once a week. Otherwise, it's just me ribbing. Anyways, I didn't just sit in the corner the whole time like a creeper in Minecraft, waiting to explode out with my jokes. But I did come in with my jokes, but I tried to be part of the conversation. I did interact with people, but mostly I listened to people, because listening is an important part of interacting, and one point that was nearly universal was that everyone hated their jobs. People either didn't like their job, or they were being mistreated, or some otherwise forgotten in the system, being overlooked for promotions. Some people were being abused by bureaucracy, and a random complaint could actually ruin their whole life, for things that are perfectly normal. Though I acknowledge it's a little more complicated in this group because they are writers, and some percent of them are trying to be professional writers and sell books and independently or else otherwise get published, and that's understandable. But some people did do it as a hobby, but they all have to survive, and they all have these jobs that they don't like. What I'm saying is there's something more wrong here than these people having an itch to be creative and to make art. There is something wrong with this system. So when do we quit a failing system? A couple weeks ago, I made a post on Facebook, and it was about the time of when everyone was really pushing for living wage, and I made a point that I would not want to work at McDonald's for anywhere less than $20, and I don't see why anyone else would make themselves do that, and that we should raise it to a living wage for them. And my Facebook, being public and having once been very conservative and mostly having conservative friends on there, I get a lot of people defending garbage. And somebody defended it because it's the system. They chose to have that low-paying job, and that low-paying job is not very valuable. And we need to pay them less money so that the more valuable jobs can be paid more money. If we paid them more money, then how would we even have construction workers or engineers or anything? We could all just work at McDonald's. Oh, we have anything else? See, people say this to me, explain it, that I should know better, that I shouldn't be, trying to mess up the system. But maybe if it leaves so many people in poverty, it's a bad system. Alright, capitalism. You know this first evaluation well. It's by a supervisor named Karl Marx. No, I didn't bring the whole thing. It's 3 volumes long. No, I have PDFs of them, but what can I do with something so old? Well, it's very thorough, and it's a great understanding of how you work and the basic ideas of labor and what it means to be a person making things. From Marx's view, it's a lot better for digital makers because it's the work that the worker puts into something that gives it value, and not just the thing that is. So when people look at an ebook and say it's just a bunch of ones and zeros, that's because they don't understand that there's no paper, there's no backing, there's no printing press that went involved. Where's the work come from? It's from the author. It's from the editors that put in effort and work to give that product value. Marx didn't hate you. Marx hated a world where people were being exploited, where workers and, well, the kinds of industries that everyone in the world depends on to live is going to someone else's profit. There is something a little messed up about that. Marx didn't hate you. To sum it up, I'd say that Marx had 2 big ideas. One, why would someone privately own what everyone needs to live? The production of things like necessities that need to go to everyone, that everyone uses, should be owned by everyone. That just makes the most sense. And also, that why wouldn't workers own what they make? You say because someone owns it, but that person only owns it because they were there first or because they had more money. They don't actually make the product. They don't make the things happen. It's the workers that give value to each of the things that the company sells and give value to the company. Why wouldn't they decide what to do with the profits or what to do with the products themselves? They made it with their labor. They should own it. I guess you can look at it as a bunch of things that are wrong with you, capitalism, but you shouldn't take it personally. All have thoughts that can be improved. I think socialism would be a fantastic ideology to take over for your work now that it's all here, especially since a lot of the infrastructure socialism has made is what keeps you running. Marx didn't actually see how much our governments would be able to prop up the mechanisms of capitalism with socialism, or with the efforts of the country at large. It's the reason why you've lasted so long. Socialism is great for building roads and education and infrastructure. Actually, a lot of the problems with socialism, or things that people deem socialism, are capitalism. You getting too involved in socialism's work. What kind of problems? Well, the problems like private schools that run out of money, so they close mid-semester and don't pay teachers and don't have a way to have students actually finish what they've learned. And they also have an obscene lack of educational standards. Yes, some government programs fail, and some of them might take longer to fail than private businesses. But private businesses do not have a better rate of success. Half of new businesses fail. Half of government programs don't fail in the first year, like businesses. Not to mention that, but several times, businesses succeeding often hurt people. Like when water gets contaminated, when companies move factories to a new location, they're not moving the workers. Those workers are all fired. But the company gets bonuses and they have better projections for the next year and they are succeeding, but Hundreds of people's lives are now destroyed because of that missing factory. It would be better for the workers to own the factory in the first place, that way it couldn't move. And there's this whole health insurance thing. Like, this is a debacle. You know this is a debacle. Everyone knows this is a debacle. People are dying because they think they can't afford the doctor or because they didn't go to the doctor soon enough. And hundreds of more people are in terrible debt because they couldn't actually afford to go to the doctor when they went. No, you cannot. No, you can't say that only people with money should be able to see the doctor. That's a bit eugenicsy and crappy. I wouldn't repeat that around people. Yes, that's what that argument means. There have been numerous attempts to quit you. You know that. Personally, I think the 1950s would have been the most ideal time. We still had a bunch of our infrastructure from FDR, and the Second Bill of Rights, I mean, every man deserving a job, 100% employment would be insane. We don't have near that. We don't have 90-some% people employed now. What do you mean FDR didn't have good policies? FDR had fantastic policies. He didn't help the stock market? The stock market is not our economy. Our economy is workers, products, raw materials, and demand. People won't stop needing stuff just because we get rid of capitalism or just because we wean ourselves off of capitalism and a consumption-based model. Yeah, I mean that. Our economy isn't the stock market. The stock market is only publicly traded companies, and they are essentially there so that rich people can invest in them and then get more money by doing nothing. Sure, there are some retirement portfolios in there, but the majority of it is just rich people money, getting more money because they had money, and not actually making the companies better. But if you look at video games, loot box, that they are actually making art worse because they're feeding a demand and they're shoving in these things to take advantage of consumers now that their models aren't growing how to be like. As Sterling points out in my complaint book, there's not a video game release that doesn't have disappointing revenue. Anyway, I'm trying to say the 1950s would have been a great time to switch to socialism. But we've passed that a little bit. And actually, Karl Marx and Oscar Wilde thought that their times would have been a good time to go to socialism too. We're kind of still coasting off the same infrastructure that FDR made in the 1950s. So yeah, there's no day like the day. No time like the present. Part of our problem is that we have replaced solid goal-oriented struggle for workers' rights with the vaporist jobs. We want more jobs. There is very little talk about how good of jobs we get, vacations, benefits, or how community can be sustainable with so many franchises. We need to go back to supporting workers, not jobs. Workers' rights is a much easier issue to track. We can track pay, vacation days, how long a length of workday it is or week. When we look at jobs numbers in the United States, it is just numbers. I don't know about you, but when someone says 450,000 or 3,700 million, my eyes just glaze over and my mind just defaults to big number. There sometimes isn't a measure into how good of these jobs are. How many hours do they make a person work? Is the job temporary? Is it a long commute? Are these workers happy? Do they have time for hobbies or raising a family? Are they able to rest when they aren't at work? How much unpaid labor will they be forced to perform? Are the bosses jerks who don't know what they're doing, so they overcome not being able to schedule work with just making people work harder? Do the jobs have unrealistic demands, like getting 100% of their customers to sign up for a new credit card, or a random insurance? If we just count jobs, that doesn't count how often people are fired or quit. There is very little control to stop a company from using churn and burn, a practice where they will thrust a new employee into a position that needs very little training, and then they will work that employee until that employee quits, so the company doesn't have to give them any kind of raises or benefits. The answer that people have been conditioned themselves to respond is, that is just the way things are, or people can get a better job, which is also a bit eugenicsy. Those arguments drip with either a false sense of superiority or plain bitterness. My dad's job sucked, but he never complained. Things used to be a lot worse. What people fail to see is that they are betraying their friendships and their fellow humans, unfortunately hurting themselves. The reason jobs are better now is because people fought for them to be better. Every major step forward in workers' rights, like the weekend, 8-hour workday, overtime pay, vacations, and benefits exist because workers fought for them, and in some cases died for them. Like the Pinkertons was a thing. It was the demand of the workers that made progress happen, and not a convenience of emergent profits or technology. You might be thinking that you want more money, but you don't see a need for other people to get more money, or everyone to have more money. There are reasons to give workers more money. The first is that we undervalue work that women do. Part of it is that they get less money than men in the same field. The other part of it is that we pay occupations that traditionally are dominated by women less money and value them less. Secretaries, teachers, nurses, and the service industry are all considered lower level jobs and have been kept there because women work them. And in the case of the service industry, several jobs are just deemed untrained workers as an excuse to pay them less money. There is also the cost of living, inflation, and productivity, which I mentioned earlier, each of which has increased over the last 40 years, while our minimum wage and hourly wages have stayed the same. Any one of these would be a good reason to give workers more money. A dollar can buy less. We need to pay our employees more. The standard of living has increased. We would be callous monsters not to pay our employees more. The workers are producing more work than ever. We should pay them more with the extra money that they are making. They are literally more valuable than the workers 50 years ago. They should be making a lot more money. Now, you can say that these things are tied together. Like the cost of living and inflations, there's definitely some correlations that happen there. But they're both independent numbers that do move separately of each other. The thing is, the counter-arguments to these, that the system can't handle it, that if we pay workers more money, inflation will raise, and that will make the price of living increase, that argument, saying that the system can't pay people more money because it will break the system, that is not an argument to keep the system as it is. That is an argument that says the system has failed, and then we need to change it. It must be replaced. It must be retired. Capitalism, we've just reached a limit to the problems you can solve. You can't solve unemployment because you need a pool of unemployed workers so that you can drop wages. And wages being low is what is hurting people and keeping them in poverty. It's also funny that one of their biggest problems, what do we do when automation hits? Several people are afraid of what this will do to the general population of workers once machines replace just about every labor-intensive job. And this is, I do find this funny because Marx and Wilde had ideas for this. You have no answer for what we can do once most of the service industry can just be vending machines. You already teach salesmen and clerks to practically be machines, stand in one place, say this, do this when the register doesn't work. Every customer interaction is scripted and controlled as much as possible, and usually the training for that is 5 to 10 hours, which can be done in 1 or 2 days, and then bam, we have a new service clerk or salesman. The service industry is one of the biggest employers in America. What do we do with an unemployment pool of millions of people? Don't count them. No, we can't have the answer of just don't count the unemployed people. That already doesn't work today. UBI. A few millionaires are saying UBI. That's problematic for a number of reasons. Universal basic income is dangerous. And not socialism, but perhaps would be closer to feudalism, what we destroyed in order to make capitalism start. There isn't a lot of upward mobility in capitalism, but acknowledging that upward mobility implies that there's a higher class to get to. We still have classes in capitalism. Now, if we had UBI and machines doing all of the basic labor, that would mean a fantastic portion of the population would just be stagnant. We already don't have a lot of upward mobility in capitalism. The things that we tell people to do to succeed and become rich is to work hard and show up on time and give 110%, which does not make anyone richer. It just makes people struggle more and perhaps lose the quality of their life. But the things that make people rich are like inventions, discovering Facebook, the lottery, which is actually a thing that drives more people to be poor, or your parents having money. UBI would leave the people that have millions of dollars to be oligarchs. They would be the only rich people, and they would be the rich people indefinitely, because they'll still be the ones that own the means of production, and the means of productions will be machines. There will be nothing for the vast majority of the population to do but have what little scraps the rich send to them. Not to mention, it would also ruin the purpose of people's lives. People like to work. I like to work. Yes, you don't work, you're an ideology. You don't make things. It's the workers. People like having a job. But it's funny that the thing that would ruin you is actually an answer, a necessary step for socialism. Marx and Wilde both talk about it. In Oscar Wilde's essay, The Soul of Man Under Socialism, Oscar Wilde's whole idea for who does the worst, grossest, most dangerous jobs is machines, automation to dig ditches or mine coal. Automation in the minds of both of these men were ways to make everyone's lives easier, and that's what should happen. If there's a machine that can do what I have a hard time doing, that should be able to make my life better, not make me live on the street. As Richard Wolff says, when a machine comes along that can do half the work of a factory, under capitalism, that means half of the factory gets fired and the remaining part of the workers are made to work harder. Under socialism, that means all of the workers only have to work half as hard to make just as many products, and then they have more time for leisure, or art, or writing, or family. Can't forget about the family. Unlike automation, your other major problem is not an answer, it's just a problem everywhere. You know what this is? Climate change. You are completely unequipped to deal with climate change. You are seriously unable to do the necessary changes to make things better. Your method of fixing climate change was to make the government not actually do anything about it, and you rely on lifestyle marketing. You made people feel guilty for eating meat or driving cars. You slapped it on a t-shirt and sold it to them, and they bought different food and different cars. You treated a global epidemic like it was Mario and slapped it on a t-shirt. Meanwhile, while you're selling things to people to fix the problem, the 100 companies that are doing the most damage to the planet are still trugging along. And they knew about it before anyone and didn't do anything to stop themselves. What they did do is make oil rigs an extra 40 feet high so that, the rising oceans don't actually mess with operations. Or they're suing the state of Texas to make a wall for the rising tides. That's what you want to see along the Texas coast. Walls. So that the beach doesn't overtake you. Yes, you can't do anything because that would be socialism. That would be telling companies what to do, or taking control of them, or giving them to the workers. We need socialism. That is the point. That's what I mentioned earlier. The longer you fight it, the worse things will be, because socialism is the answer to the major problems that are threatening us. The more you hang on, the more damage capitalism will do. If climate change isn't fixed, there will be stronger hurricanes, more wildfires, more refugees from uninhabitable areas, droughts. Don't give me anything about it's in the Bible. It's because of you. We know what the cause is. It's capitalism. It's companies doing whatever they want to make money. These aren't problems that can be solved by selling things to people. The longer people hold on to capitalism, the worse things will get. What do we do without capitalism? People support themselves and each other. People care for one another. We have a system that actually works for people. We seek stability over growth. We already have a food production that feeds 3 times our population. The problem is distribution. And how we distribute it is based off of who has money, or who can make us the most money. Well, not us the most money. Who can make the corporation the most money? Because that's not going to some local farmer. It's going to a corporation that is run by millionaires that want for nothing and likely have not wanted for nothing for generations. We are already at the point where we produce more than we can use. Producing any more just makes more and more waste. It's hard to tell who throws away more, but we are planning on throwing away a lot more per city. In Cedar Rapids, we have a mountain named Mount Trashmore, which is our landfill. That landfill is more landform than the rest of Iowa. It's a flat state, I'm saying. It's a flat state joke. But that's big picture, right? Actually changing the system completely and seeking sustainability. Medium picture. In the middle term, we need to value each other. That each worker deserves a comfortable life. Every person deserves a comfortable life. So they can be happy, they can read, they can watch TV, and they can work. Because working is part of a happy life and purpose of a person. So why do we have a system like capitalism where the one goal is to make money? Everything else is a byproduct. The things you actually love, art, video games, books, movies, YouTube, being healthy, hanging out with your friends, seeing your family, playing with new technology, or even just spending time all alone, none of those are what our system aims to make. Those are all byproducts. Our system only makes money. That is its one goal. And to that goal, it either devalues those things, or it takes away time from those things, or it makes you sacrifice those things for more of it. It makes a lot more sense to be part of a system that prioritizes art, community, and people's health. If that's the goal, that's what it'll try to do. If those things were the point, then they would be accomplished much better and would be easier. We could also be better to accomplish long-term goals, like peace, or not totally messing up our climate, which making money in the short term cannot do. The decisions to make money are made based off a quarterly or yearly basis. A millionaire can start a company and tank it and still make money off of that company that failed. Like the president. What is the point of a system that does that? It's easier to make money from a failing business than sustaining one long term, if you have enough money. And the big thing is, these aren't out-of-hand goals. Art, video games, books, movies, these are things that people already try to do to make time for. The difference is that the system will be made to help that happen. In my last video where I mentioned NaNoWriMo and I talked about the things that people do for NaNoWriMo and how NaNoWriMo helped me in the community and the forum and the technology features. Since I was talking about the charity, I didn't mention the other things that helped me finish, like my personal friend community, like my partner who supported me so much and helped me keep my life balanced and made sure I was still eating healthy and sleeping once in a while, and was the biggest support and making sure that I was just a balanced person the whole time. So that, I don't know, maybe this is sustainable for me to do. Thank you a lot, my partner. I love you. But also there's the surrounding community. There's the public buildings and libraries that I went to write in order to get by my location-based procrastination. We already have some art, some community, and some source of love. We have charities and volunteers that have a willingness to help other people to make their lives better and share their resources with one another. There are employees that go above and beyond because they want to help a person who is disabled or hurt for a while or otherwise can't do something or is maybe old, and give 110% to make sure that they are happy and that they're taken care of. And sometimes the cashier doesn't even charge you the 50 cents you're short. There is nothing foreign or alien to the things of socialism. Most of the things in socialism we're already doing. It'll look very similar to our current lives. Maybe there will be a little bit less trash thrown out. Maybe there will be a bit more recycling. Maybe there will be a lot more community, but you'll still go to work, you'll still have friends, you'll still play with new technology. There might still be a government. The differences will be how we organize employment, or how we organize workers. We need to take back the vocabulary. We need to take back and change our ideas of what workers are, of what wages are, of why we do things in order to get by the failures of capitalism. So if you like this video, you found it entertaining, or you think a friend would like it, please share it. I want to put the transcript down below as much of as I can fit. So if you have a part of it that you really liked, you can find it, you can copy it, and you can paste it and tell your friends, this is why I liked this video, or this is the thought that I really liked from this video. And feel free to share it whenever somebody doesn't like their job, or they feel really bad, or they feel like the system is unchangeable, or that there's nothing good in humanity. And there probably are a group of people that work so they can get more money, you know, so they can inflate a feeling of importance or just having more than another person. And we don't need that. I don't care. I'm not gonna acquiesce to someone who just wants to feel superior. I don't work for art or community or hang out with my friends. I work for money. I don't care. I work for money. What place do I have in socialism? I don't care. I don't have pity for you. You'll just have a happy life like everyone else. You can't feel superior to people. It's not. I'm not gonna pity lack of superiority. I've been thinking about changing the name to something easier to Google and easier to find, but like, you know, I've been the Sugar Ray for so long, so don't be surprised if this channel is under a different name than. And now that I've said that, it can probably easily be stolen. It'll still have Ray in the name, I'm pretty sure. Please find my original video.